Do you want to start or do you want me to?
And I can start, yeah.
Go
And then
for
you
it.
can take it. Welcome back to another episode of the In Raw Life podcast. We are super excited to be here today because we won't be here necessarily with anything new for a couple of weeks, maybe a month and a half. We're not quite sure yet because I, Jessica, am going to be popping a human out of me in 2 weeks. So we're going to take a tiny little bit of a break and play some of our best episodes from the past like 2.5 years, because that's what we've been doing this for. And I want to thank you guys for being here for 2.5 years, whether you've been here from the beginning or recently, or you're finding us 5 years from now. Like, thank you for listening and finding value in what we have to say. We started this because we wanted to help others. We wanted to help others. We wanted to have fun together because our conversations are always so fun. So we're like, we should share this with other people because that could bring some laughter and joy to their life. And then we realized that we had a lot to say that could bring light to things and help people out. So that's what we're all about. So make sure that if you're listening, you are sharing, liking, reviewing, rating, subscribing, all of the things so that we can get this out to more people.
Yeah. So before we kick off, or I guess before we kick off maternity leave for Jessica, I thought it would be so fun to end on a dreams and goals. Jessica mentioned last episode how lots of things have changed for like the way our business looks like now, and just like kind of the ways our lives are going is changing. And of course, like this is the In Raw Life podcast, so we want to keep you in on what's like real and raw that we're going through, but also like tell you what our I don't know, I like tell you what our dreams and goals are, because we've got some plans for our future that are, you know, some that are exciting, some that are unknown. And I don't know, I love dreaming. I love like mapping out goals and having plans, even if they don't go according to plan. I just love like the dreaming phase. And so as we're heading out into a break, I thought it'd be fun to dream with you guys. And so that's what we're going to do in this episode, is share our dreams, share where our hearts are at, and yeah, kind of go from there. So, okay, just I guess I'll start out. Or do you want to start? What do you think? What do you think?
You can go because I don't know exactly how we want to go with this.
Okay. So for me, it was actually, so Jessica and I've decided to not like grow our business together anymore, but to still do this podcast because it's like an act of service. We just love you guys and we want to keep coming up and sharing and showing up for you. So a big part of like why we chose, well, why, like for me, why I wanted to step back is because I realized I haven't really been honest with myself and like where I want to go and like what my dreams have been my whole life. And my whole life I've always dreamt of being an actress, but I felt like that dream seemed silly. So I didn't want to pursue it or make excuses as to why I sort of do it, but not fully pursue it. And I've just been working through that. And I've now like taken more recent headshots. I've been submitting myself to auditions. I actually got an audition. I've only been doing this for a month and I've already got an audition and submitted myself to that. And I didn't get it. I didn't get the part. And I'm so excited because not that I didn't get the part, but that I put myself back out there. And the way the director responded was like, hey, thanks for submitting. You have a talent. Best wishes. And I would not have even known that if I kept hiding and kept like sitting in this shelter that I had built for myself, saying like, I can't put myself out there because I can't fail because people look down on me. And instead, I'm like, you know what? I'm putting myself out there and I'm telling every single person about it, including you guys. Because even if I fail, that's okay. And so my whole thought is like, you got to go for your goals and your dreams, even if failure comes your way, because failure is not like you've failed. It's just a no that is a step towards your yeses and towards your wins and towards you living the life of your dreams. So anyway, that's like one thing I'm pursuing. I'm also in the middle of writing a TED Talk, which is very exciting. but like ultimately I've got all these things and these big ideas because I'm in this dreamy phase. But then I'm also thinking like, well, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So what's my next step and where do I go from here? And, what can I do that is like will monetize, right? Um, and I was just talking to my life coach yesterday, and she said, well, you are making money by working your job. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But am I making enough and all this other stuff? And she said something to me that was so beautiful. And I wanted to share it with you, which is what's meant for you will come for you. So, like, even if you're in a place where you're like, I'm not 100% sure what's next, or I know I've got these big dreams, but I'm not sure the like path I want to take to get there. Um, what's meant for you will come for you. And I just think that's such a neat thing to like rest in where you're at and know that like whatever big thing is going to come your way will come in the exact perfect time. Because I told her how like I was beating myself up that I haven't auditioned sooner because it wasn't that bad, and I put it on this pedestal of scary, that if I had just knocked it off that pedestal 10 years ago, imagine where I would be. And she's like, yeah, you wouldn't be where you're at right now, and where you're at is exactly where you want to be. You'd have to give up so many things if that worked out years ago. So in waiting for this moment, like this is when it's supposed to happen, and how beautiful is that? And so anyway, I just think that whole outlook shows how beautiful a time of rest is, how beautiful the time where you don't know what to do is, where you can just like rest in that and take comfort in that and wait for the call that will like push on your heart and be time to pursue it. So anyway, that's where I'm at in the dreaming phase, and so on and so forth. But Jessica, you have like a completely different upcoming few weeks. And so I just would love to hear like where your dreams and goals are as far as the next few weeks of your life, the next few, like this next season that you're about to embark on in 2 weeks. Like that's, oh man, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge, like we're both in transition phases, I guess, but very different ones.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, like when you're like, oh, let's talk about our dreams and goals, I was like the old Jessica thinking was like creeping in of I don't even know, like I'm stuck right now and I don't even know what that looks like and I can't focus on it. But also the healthy, growing Jessica mindset takes over and it's like I'm in this phase of where I don't need to be making these huge plans. Like that's not what I need to focus on right now because obviously if I'm not doing it, it's not that important to me right now. And like my family, like my kids and figuring all of this out is more important to me right now. And like my continued like self growth. Um, so it's weird because I am such a like action taker, doer, and especially with the end of this pregnancy being extra exhausting, I haven't been able to. So it's like a forced rest, like physical rest as well, and mental rest. And I'm like, you know what? That's okay. And I want to add to what you were saying about like what's meant for you will come for you is very true. And but you also have to put yourself out there for
Mm,
what's meant for you to come to you. Like you can't just sit back and say, okay, I want to be an actress and then not audition. So
mhm,
you have to take the actions. Like I want, prime examples, like I want a community where like I love where I live. I chose not to move somewhere where I actually knew more people, like to have more of a support system. So I don't have much of a support system. And I want that and I want the community. And so I looked for it. Like I signed up for a book club and I've gone twice, even though it was really scary, especially the first time going to a stranger's house. I was like, hi, nice to meet you, which is so out of my comfort zone. But it was great and it was fun. And I went to the second one and I'll go to more and like they're all really cool people. Um, like doing other things in my community here, like the new neighborhood that we're in. One of my neighbors reached out to me. She's like, hey, I think you're my new neighbor, like on Facebook. And I said, oh yeah, I am. Sorry. Like I haven't really been showing my face because it's really hot and I'm really pregnant. But yeah, I would love to meet up sometime and like get to know you. So like putting myself out there in that way, like I'm taking that action because it's gonna bring what I'm looking for and what I've been dreaming about. So, and that's just like a small part of it. And I guess that's kind of my focus for now, is having the life side part of it, and knowing that when I'm ready to figure out and get back to what I want to do, like entrepreneurial, uh, I will, because I'll, like, once I have the mental clarity and I have like the comfort and the support, I'm going to work on, like, I'll have it, it will come to me, and I will put the work in and kind of dive in that way, and it'll come to me what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like the push on action is so important because like I think so there's like there's phases, right? Of like figuring out what you're supposed to do with life and all of that. And phase 2 is figuring out what it is you want to do. And then phase 3 is
Just wait, because it's going to be low.
okay. It's not that loud. It's okay.
Yeah, but I probably will on, like, it'll probably on the recording and sound over you.
Okay. Is she done?
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like there's different phases in the dreaming process. Like phase 2 is figuring out what to do and like what steps you need to take towards your dreams. And phase 3 is then taking that action. But I feel like phase 1 is the figuring out your purpose and then resting in the waiting. Like what is your current purpose in life? Whether, maybe it's like to love others well, to encourage people, to grow a family, to connect in community. Like we all have a different purpose. Like I feel like my purpose is to encourage people. Like that is the reason I was put on this earth, is to encourage others. And everything I do will reflect that, whether it's doing this podcast or, even like in my random day job, I love building connections with other people so that I work with, so that I can encourage them to chase their dreams. In acting, I want to be an actress so I can encourage people in roles that are inspiring. Like all of those things kind of stem out of, I want to encourage people. And so once you figure out what your purpose is, you rest in that and wait for what you're like the next steps, because what's meant for you will come for you. So like resting in, I want to encourage people, I don't know how. Well, like the next thing that I'm supposed to do will all of a sudden just like plant in my heart, and I won't be able to let go of it once I think of it. I'm not there yet, but like once, like even with the business that we created, when we started it, it was like all consuming. It was all we could think about. And I fully believe we were supposed to do that at that moment. Like that was meant for us, and it came for us perfectly in 2020. And we helped all these women along the way. And that's beautiful. Like that's incredible. And then whatever the next step is, I feel like it'll come as the same flood. And then the third step is to take action, because at step 3 is such a critical place where you either go towards it or you make up all these excuses as to why you aren't meant for it.
Yeah.
But if it's in your heart, it's what is meant for you. Like it's that was something else like that my life coach said yesterday. She's like, because I told her about how I want to do a TED Talk, and she's like, then you're going to do the TED Talk because it's in your heart for a reason, because I don't want to do a TED Talk. Like that's not something that most people want to do. So if it's in your heart, maybe it's something you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's true for anything we dream of. If your dream is to, build a business, to have a big family, to move to Switzerland, to pursue whatever, like that's in your heart for a reason. So don't shirk from the action, take the action to get like figure out the ways to make your dreams happen, because it's like it's in your heart for a reason.
Yeah.
What was that thing that Maria said that we used to quote about your desires in your heart? Do you remember?
I think it was even from a book. Just like if it's put on, like if it's put in your head and your heart, like there's a reason for it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's no need to ignore it. And who knows what exactly, it might be something small, like whatever you actually get from it, even just like being an actress, it might be a random thought of, oh, I want to be an actress. And that could be you enjoy like imagine play with your kids, or it could be
Mhm.
you go pursue a huge acting career. Like, it doesn't have to look exactly the same for every person that has that thought or idea. Um, but yeah, if there's an inkling of something, and especially if it comes up more than once inside of you, I feel like that's something you need to listen to and really just think about more and dive more into. Like, what does that mean? Why does that keep showing up for me? And how would I want that to play out? And then start taking some action towards what that might look like for you.
And what you said too is huge. Like it may not look like you expect. I mean, we had these like very different expectations for our business than where it actually went. But what it developed into was something beautiful that wasn't quite what we were expecting, but still beautiful. Like so that's
I mean,
like
it set both of us on, further on our path of what we really want to do and what we're going to do.
yeah.
I mean, heck,
Yeah.
even this podcast, I remember I think I was doing like Instagram live videos in my stories or something about doTERRA because I was still very much building that business at the time. And I had just a handful of people saying, those are really good. Like, you need to do more of those. You should. And one or two people said I should turn it into a podcast. And I was like, what? How would I talk about oils in a podcast though? Like that. I just don't see how that would work. And I know some people do and it's great, but like, I just didn't, I was like, I don't know. But then that tiny little spark, I was like, podcast, huh? I would love to do a podcast. That would be really fun. What would I do a podcast about? And I was talking with like another friend at the time, and we came up with some ideas. Like, we're like, that would be fun. And talking about how it could actually logistically work out. And she wasn't sure. And I was like, well, if you're not sure, like, I'm sure that I want to do one. I don't know exactly what I want to do it about, but I want to know I want to help people because that's part of my purpose in this life is just like helping people. And then I brought it up to you and you were like a little unsure of it too. I was like, I'm doing this one way or the other. Like, even if I need to do it alone. And then you're like, no, let's do this.
Yeah.
So like, and like that tiny little spark from just that was from me going live on Instagram about oils. And even that, a couple of years before I was doing that, I couldn't have ever imagined myself doing that. Whatever sparked inside of me before that, like led to all of these things. So you just never know where it's really going to take you and how many people you could like reach too.
hmm Yeah. And that's the thing too, like no matter what it looks like, whatever, like when you put effort forth towards something and maybe it's not like the numbers you expect or the reach you're supposed like you expected to do, you don't know the like little difference that you will make to the one person. And
Mhm.
then they can pass that on to somebody else. Or maybe it's just that you improve their day. And so they're not so terrible to their families that when they get home because they're not in a bad mood.
Mhm.
You just like there's such a ripple effect from like every single thing you do. So don't beat yourself up if it's not quite what you were hoping it would be.
Yeah,
But yeah.
everything like I don't I know it's like such a cliche thing to say, but like I really, over the past probably now 10 years, basically, it feels like there's no regrets or like feeling like I failed at anything. And I
hmm
have, relationships that have ended. I have entrepreneur things that have ended not how I would have wanted. And I mean, I don't think anyone likes to be seen as a failure. But that's a huge thing for me too that would stop me from being as authentic and vulnerable and sharing about my life as possible. It's because I don't want people like I always wanted to be seen as like, okay, like Jessica's got her shit together because she doesn't like fail at things either. And
hmm
all of those quote unquote failures, because I don't know a better word for it right now, um, all have led to things better and better and what I want. Like, I would never take back my whole marriage because one, I got my daughter out of it. But even, like 5, she was 5 when we split. So like that was 5 more years of a marriage that wasn't correct for me or for us. But I got so much out of it. Like I learned the people that I met, the things that I did, the experiences, like becoming so independent through that. I wouldn't be who I am now. And I love who I am now. So like doTERRA, like before doTERRA, there were other things. And then there was doTERRA and then our business, and like everything builds upon each other. And you can either look at them as, oh, I failed and I suck and I'm just not going to keep trying. And then you can live that way, like go for it. That's up to you. Or you can be tired of your own crap of thinking that way and like look at it as, wow, I learned this, that, and the other from that. And look at how that's helped me do what I'm doing now, which I like even better. And who knows, I may stay in whatever this is and forever, and this is great, or I may grow into something else in the future, and that's awesome too.
That's so funny because like I've always had this fear of failure or whatever, or looking like a failure, which I don't anymore. I shouldn't say always, because I really have been able to get rid of that like in the past few months alone, honestly. I mean, I still will creep up a little bit, but I have made huge strides. Right. But now, like hearing what you're saying, like it's the whole thing of caring what other people think. Like you want other people to think you've got your shit together, when it's like none of us have our shit together, really. If we're being honest, all of us have weird stuff. If we knew everybody's baggage, we would know nobody has their shit together. Like we all try to make it seem, right? And then moreover, life is like there's so many opportunities. There are so many things that we could explore and do. And if we just did the same thing forever and had success in that, that's cool. But also we're trying different things. We're experiencing different life by all of these experiences. Like we know what it's like to grow an MLM business. We know what it's like to start our own business from scratch. We know what it's like to be a stay-at-home mom, a work-at-home mom, a working mom. Like we've done all of these life things, which like it could look like, oh, we failed because we can't get our shit together because we've done so many different things. But also we've experienced life in so many ways that we are able to speak to it and help others in these different phases and know what we like and what we don't like. If you're in one situation, like, I don't know, a working mom, and you're like, oh, I just wish I could be home with my kids. That would be so wonderful. Spend some time home with your kids doing nothing but being a stay-at-home mom. It is not for everyone. It is certainly not for me, But like experiencing each of those things, I've been able to realize that and then move more towards what I want and what fuels me and things of that nature.
I will say, I disagree. I feel like I have my shit together, but it's not a perfect life, and it never will be.
What do
So,
you
like, I
mean you
think,
feel like you have your shit together?
huh?
So what do you mean you feel like you have your shit together?
Like I'm living life as I want, and I have the things that I want, and I enjoy the things that I want. So that's how I feel like I have my shit together. Is every day perfect? Heck no. Do I yell at my kid at least once a day? Probably. Do I like
Maybe twice.
maybe twice, according to her? Do I have like everyone in my life that I would like to have in my life? No. Is it perfect? No. But like there's nothing perfect, but I have it together how I want it. Like I don't feel icky. I don't feel terrible. I don't feel like out of control, even though someone else could look at it and be like, oh my gosh, that is out of control. But it's how I want my life to be. Go.
I hear what you're saying. I feel like that's like contentment with what is. I feel like having your shit together is like that thought means having the perfect like home life, work life, family
See,
life.
that's where I disagree. I don't think that that having your shit together is perfection. I think they're two different things, and perfection is not. It's not a thing that we can have, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when I say none of us have our shit together, I mean none of us have it all. Is maybe what I'm trying to say. Because I think
But I still feel like I have it all without having quote unquote it all.
Right. I agree. Like I agree with what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that like what I'm specifically saying is that so there are people who so like try to have everything and don't find contentment in the lack. And that's what I'm speaking to.
Yeah, but that's for me, I would say that's the chasing perfectionism.
Right. And that's what I'm saying we should
And I
like
think
you
that's
can't
totally different than having your shit together.
well so that's well what I'm saying is that nobody has perfection then. And
Correct.
that's the message that I'm trying to state. Like you cannot expect your life to have all the boxes checked. But to your point, you can learn to find contentment with every box that you have checked.
Mhm.
I think it's both. It's like stop comparing yourself, stop expecting to have the dream fill in the blank because you don't know what that dream fill in the blank even looks like for your life. It may not serve you. So yeah, I think it's like yeah, having like finding contentment in whatever you like have, whatever you've created is perfect in itself, but it's
And being
striving for
okay,
perfectionism is
just like I say all the time, being okay in the now and content in the now and okay with wanting more when the time comes as well, which is what we've been talking about this whole time is dreaming, goals, planning.
yeah. Yeah, which is a hard balance. I mean, trying to figure out like the balance of appreciating the moment while still leaving space to dream without feeling
Mm-hmm.
lack. It's a
Mm-hmm.
it's a balance, but it's I think it's beautiful. And I think the way we talked about this a little bit on last week's episode, the way to do that is gratitude. You know, like, yes, I'd love a bigger house one day. I have the dream of living in a beautiful little suburbia with a house with two bathrooms at least. But I also can appreciate like this home that we live in that I'm super grateful for that, you know, keeps my kids warm and keeps us even closer because it's small and whatever. So you have to find contentment with where you're at, and gratitude is a huge help for that. But still leaving space to dream for one day and knowing that that one day can come, but that one day will never be perfection.
Yeah. And it's okay to dream and it's okay to want more and be happy.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun dream. Do you have any dreams of what motherhood will look like in exactly 2 weeks and one day from now? Or wait,
Honestly, when it
not one
comes to
day,
this,
two
like
weeks
I
exactly.
when it comes to this is not something that like I want to put that kind of pressure on of what
Mhm.
it will look like because
Yeah.
especially with newborns, there's just you have no idea. There's no you've got to like let go of control. So I just the one thing I was talking with my therapist yesterday at, I was like, I just want peace and calm. Like
Mm.
at whoever's in my household, there will be peace and calm and love. Like that's what we all need. And that's how we will go forward and thrive.
I love that.
Yeah.
What is the one thing you are the most excited for when it comes to the newborn stage?
All the snuggles.
They're
I
so
hope he's as
tiny.
snuggly as Emmeline.
I feel like if you snuggle him enough from the get-go, he'll be snuggly too. There's no way.
I don't know. There's some kids, like for what I've heard from other people, like it really just depends on their personality.
Well, I hope he's snuggly
I
for
mean,
you.
Emmeline's still snuggly, so it's not like I'm missing out, but newborn
Yeah.
snuggle and baby breastfed baby breath. I missed that. It was
Mm.
so sweet.
And the smell of their little baldy head, or not baldy,
Yeah, who
just for your
knows?
babies.
Who knows? We shall see in 2 weeks.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, we wish you, we as in me and the audience, wish you all the best.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and thank you, audience, for coming back again and again. Like Jessica mentioned earlier, we are grateful for you being part of every part of this journey in whatever capacity you've been here. We're thankful for you. Please do continue to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast so that our podcast can grow and we can inspire others to get their shit together without living a life of perfection. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you guys. Just thank you. We would love to hear from you if there's anything, comments, concerns, things you'd love to hear about, people you like, types of people you want to hear on the show too. Like, reach out, let us know. We'd love to hear however, whatever would help and encourage you most.